everybody, welcome back to Bloom into Womanhood, my channel where I talk about all things womanhood, adulting, and public health. Today we'll be talking about navigating the application process for programs regarding the MPH, the MSPH, and the MHA. As long as your program is on the SOFIS application system, this method that I'm about to describe for you today should be pretty helpful in helping you navigate the system. So without further ado, let's get started. So the method I'm going to be describing for you today is what I did for the 2020-2021 application cycle. I started in the summer of 2019 and I finished up most of my application materials in the fall of 2019. So I'm going to be looking to the side for my notes, so bear with me. But in the summer of 2020, what I did is I started studying for the GRE, and then I took the GRE prior to starting my school year semester in the fall. So I studied, took the GRE, I was prepared. That I already had one of the application materials off of my plate, at least for me during the school year, because it would have been a lot for me to deal with while taking classes and having to study for the GRE and get my other application materials ready for graduate school. So that was a wonderful thing about the summer. Additionally, I started thinking about the type of program that I would be interested in. So whether I would want to do an MPH, an MSPH, an MHA degree, or I was also thinking about like the type of concentration program I would be interested in. So whether it be global health, epidemiology, health behavior, maternal and child health, the list goes on. So I was really able to really focus on those things that I wanted to do and really narrow down the type of programs that I'd be interested in. Additionally, when you're doing that, you want to think about your career goals, so that can be very helpful in figuring out which type of program or concentration that you're interested in. Additionally, I started to think about who I'd want to write my letters of recommendation. This is super essential. I think I had a list of about maybe 10 people I thought about, but of course, out of that 10-person list, there was 3 people, solid people that I knew could really write a good letter for me. And so going ahead and formulating that list early on is really good, so that you can have a timeline as well during the fall semester when you want to reach out to your professors or your employers to possibly write you those letters of recommendation in time for your application. So after I did those things for the summer, so taking the GRE, looking at letters of recommendation, and thinking about the type of program I'd be interested in, when the fall of 2019 got here, I was prepared to do some other things in preparation to submit my application. So the first thing that I looked at was I checked SOFIS. So this is the portal, the application system that you're going to be using to apply to public health schools. Some of them may not be up there, but if you're applying to an accredited program, it usually is going to be through SOFIS. You always want to make sure your program is accredited. That's super, super important. And when I was looking through SOFIS, I was trying to limit or narrow down my list of potential schools. So to do this, I was looking at geographic location, as well as if the program itself was online and virtual or in person. I knew I wanted to be in person with my education, so I was specifically looking for schools like that. And then I was also thinking about like program of interest. So I was thinking about, does this have my concentration of interest? Or is there a potential to get a certificate that will supplement my degree from this program? That was important for me. Additionally, I was looking at creating a list of about 10 schools that, met my criteria, but I didn't at all apply to 10 schools. This was just the general first list that I created off the bat. And then lastly, going from SOFIS, I then decided to go in to start exploring each school's website after I had my list of 10. So when I was doing the school website exploration, I was thinking about like, what is the cost of attendance? So I was looking at each program, and then I was also trying to find what type of funding do they usually give for their students. So if it's an in-state or out-of-state school, is there a possibility, if you're coming from out of state, that you'll get in-state tuition your second year? Or is it a possibility to get an assistantship that will pay your tuition, fees, health insurance, and give you a stipend? Do most students get those your first year or your second year? What are the possibilities? So that was something that was really important for me to look at when trying to narrow down my list. Additionally, I was looking at if I met the school's student profile criteria. So was I in their GRE range? Their research, do I have the research that they were looking for if they are more of a research school? Do I have the professional background, volunteer experience? All of these things to figure out if I'm a good fit for that program. And then I looked at the list of professors in the department with the concentration I was interested in. And it's really key that you do this because when you're going to be writing your statement of interest, you're usually going to mention a potential faculty advisor, faculty mentor that you would like to work with in the department. And so making sure that you have someone that is doing the work that you're interested in potentially pursuing is very important in making sure that you're a good fit for that department. Next, I looked at potentially extracurriculars that they have to offer, so clubs, certificates, and certifications. And specifically with like certificate programs, does their certificate cost extra to get, or is it just extra classes that is already built into my tuition? That plays a significant role in, making sure that you're going to be a good fit for the school, but also that you're going to come out competitive when you're done with the school process. And so it's going to make you a better candidate on the job market. When you're in the school, you really want to make sure that you have all opportunities and that you're able to kind of milk the system in a way so that it's a good fit for you and you come out really well off for the job market. Additionally, I started exploring the SOFIS fee waiver option. So I believe that SOFIS will allow you, I think at the time it was like a minimum $50 fee. But if you meet some needs or you meet some criteria, you can apply for a fee waiver. So that way you can go ahead and eliminate that additional fee. You always want to be checking to figure out ways that you can decrease your costs when applying to schools. And then so go ahead and put in that necessary paperwork for your SOFIS fee waiver so that way you can eliminate that as a factor as well. And then I started to look at each school and see if they had a supplemental application, and if they did they also have fee waivers for their supplemental applications through the school. And so I was able to do that with one of my schools. I got the SOFIS fee waiver, and then I also got a fee waiver for a supplemental application for one of the schools I applied to because I had did a pipeline program with them. So making sure and just reaching out to find out if you can somehow eliminate fees is really, really important. Additionally, I have some questions that I think that's super important you should ask yourself when you're doing this process is how much can you afford in applications? This will really, really help you figure out how many schools you can apply to. I ultimately ended up deciding out of that list of 10, I ended up deciding to apply to 2. And the 2 schools that I did apply to were in the top 5 public health programs in the country. But I was pretty confident in my abilities, and I made sure to network and etc., which I'll go into later. But I knew what I could afford, and honestly, if you are applying earlier, if you were to get rejected or sadly you weren't able to go to that school and you found out in like January, you would still have time to apply to more schools later in that cycle as well, and still be able to go to school in the following fall. And so just being cognizant of that is really super important in trying to figure out how you're going to navigate the system and also potentially lower your costs in applying to schools. And so all of this could help in figuring out what you want to do in the future.